How do you classify a beginner, intermediate, and advanced athlete with regard to their strength and conditioning training? And how does their training evolve over time as they become more advanced? These categorizations hold true no matter how good the athlete is at their actual sport, how many days a week they do strength and conditioning work, or the type of periodization model and program structure used. A beginner is someone who has not mastered the technical aspects of at least one major compound movement in each of the major movement patterns. As an example, this might be back squats, deadlifts, bench press, pull-ups, overhead press, and dumbbell rows. Sprinting can also be in this category, but oftentimes I worry about them mastering the lifts and start introducing the speed work more in that intermediate phase. The goal of this stage is simple. Get the athlete to be able to perform each one of those movements with great technique. You can of course use other movements, just stick to a max of 2 per movement pattern, and they should be close variations. As far as choosing exercises, if you don't have a good reason to deviate what has always been used to develop athletes, start with those movements. These would be like the examples I already showed. They are not lifting maximally here, but they're trying to do good crisp reps. They shouldn't really be struggling to lift any weight. Start with something pretty light, and as technique looks good and is improving, add weight. They are new to lifting and don't need a tremendous amount of strain to see results. Keeping their effort level in the around 6 to 7 out of 10 difficulty range is probably good. Push progress slowly weight-wise and use more frequency or volume to drive technical adaptations. Once the athlete has developed great and consistent technique on all these major lifts, this stage ends. Technique should be good for several weeks in a row and get up to about an 8 out of 10 difficulty before concluding that their technique is solid and moving to that intermediate stage. Don't rush this though. Intermediate is not better than beginner. It is simply a step in the progression. If they aren't ready for that step, it does them no good. When developing athletes over years, taking a few extra weeks to make sure things are really dialed in will yield far greater results in the long term. If you want to see actual examples of programs, training weeks, and training splits, depending on what stage the athlete is and how many days per week they train, see our Creating a Training Program series in the card above. Intermediate level athletes have 2 main goals. They are to learn how to push hard in training and expand their movement library. Through these 2 goals, they will develop a solid base of general physical capacity. When I say learn how to push hard, we take those movements mastered in the beginner stage and have them start pushing those up to 8, 9, and 10 out of 10 efforts. This doesn't have to be every set or every workout, and I recommend ramping up more gradually than just all of a sudden they're intermediate, so now push to the max. They do need to know what it means to push hard through fatigue and maintain great technique even on hard sets. My favorite way to introduce intensity increases is with max sets. Do something like 3 sets of 5, then 1 max set. I use this for a few reasons. The first is it allows us to use a lighter weight starting out on this stage. They get a few good practice sets, then a harder set, which is still stopped if technique breaks down. If they get a certain number of reps for that, I usually use 8 or more, we add 5 pounds the next week. Their goal is to either beat the reps from the week prior at the same weight or match the reps 5 pounds heavier. Secondly, this helps the athlete compete against themselves and puts their progress in their own hands. Start with something the athlete will get at least 10 reps with in week 1 and let them continue adding weight over many months. Thirdly, this allows for a gradual ramp up of heavy weight. Eventually, they will be getting to 5 or 6 on their max sets, doing 4 sets of 5 really heavy. Then you can go down to sets of 3 and let them push with heavy triples. This approach works wonders to get the athlete strong and is incredibly simple. If you have access to 1.25 pound plates, use those on upper body lifts and only advance 2.5 pounds per week. Happening simultaneously, they start learning new movements in the main movement patterns, along with expanding to other exercises, be it more sprinting, jumping, rotational movements, or other isolation lifts, depending on their need. To see an example week with actual exercises and how that progresses from beginner to immediate to advanced, see our videos on training split for athletes lifting 2, 3, or 4 times per week. New movements are performed lighter until mastered. Then those can be pushed hard as well. At this stage, figure out what works best for the athlete. What exercises do they feel great doing and seem to really help them versus which ones just kind of hurts their joints and feel uncomfortable. Don't rotate through hundreds of exercise variations, but have 4 or 5 main movements that the athlete might try. For example, back squat, front squat, split squat, a wide stance box squat, and sled pushing are kind of my go-tos for that squatting pattern. Occasionally, something else needs done, but very rarely. Over the course of a year or two, the athlete will develop a tremendous base of speed, strength, and movement proficiency. A future video in our Creating a Training Program series will discuss progressing the workouts forward over many months and years. However, at this stage, it should still be quite simple. Some new exercise variations or moderate changes to sets and reps can be done, but this level of lifter will still progress in a straight line for a pretty long time. As progress stalls using the intermediate approach and their general physical base relative to their sport has been built, the advanced stage begins. The advanced stage is characterized by giving the athlete more specific training, more attention to recovery, and a more thought out periodized program. Specific training might refer to special exercises, but it often means addressing the athlete's specific weaknesses relative to their sport. A general base has been built, but do they need more time on speed versus strength, upper body versus lower body strength, or a specific movement or body part? Maybe they need less strength and conditioning in general and more sport practice. This stage is more tailored to the athlete's needs. A few variations of exercises that work better for that athlete should have been found in the intermediate stage. Use those and discard the things that didn't work as well. Recovery likely needs paid more attention too. They are often practicing a fair bit and are now strong and muscular, meaning higher outputs and more fatigue caused from any one training session. This will manifest itself through spreading out hard efforts, be it easier days, a deload week, or a combination of the two. Specifics on writing a full program are covered in our Creating a Program series. For now, just know that squatting 400 pounds is more taxing than squatting 200 pounds, even if it's the same percentage of their max. So bigger, stronger, faster athletes often can't handle as much volume. Programming also needs to be a little more complex than simply push hard and add weight. That works really well for athletes who haven't been training as long. However, as you get closer to your physical limits and your body has adapted to just training in a straight line, programs must evolve to address those new concerns. There are many approaches to this. My methods will be discussed in detail with this Creating a Program series. Developing athletes and programming over long spans of time come with it some nuances that's hard to cover in a single video. Make sure you subscribe and not miss those videos, along with liking and sharing this one with any athletes or coaches that want to get to the next level.